the whispering monoliths of Easter Island. Far across the vast, lonely expanse of the Pacific Ocean, Arin Cade arrived on the shores of Easter Island, or as the locals called it, Rapa Nui. The waves lapped gently against the volcanic coast, the wind was warm on his skin, and the towering moai statues stood like silent, eternal guardians watching over the land. But Arin wasn't here just to marvel at the stone giants. He was here because of a riddle, one he'd discovered engraved on an ancient tablet in the crumbling temples of Cambodia. Where stone faces whisper, the earth remembers. For centuries, explorers and historians believed the moai were simply magnificent monuments, tributes to ancestors or gods. But Arin had stumbled upon a clue suggesting something more, something far older. Beneath their stony feet lay a labyrinth, a place built before any known civilization had set foot on this isolated island. As Arin walked between the colossal figures, he felt it. The wind carried a strange, low sound, almost like murmuring voices carried on the breeze. The ground beneath him vibrated, just a faint tremor, but enough to feel. He pulled out his compass. The needle spun wildly, useless. Something powerful, something alive, was right below him. Following the whispers, which grew stronger near a cluster of moai facing inland, Arin found a half-buried stone disk. It was covered in ancient symbols patterns he didn't recognize, yet they felt strangely familiar. With a grunt, he gave it a gentle push. It slid aside with a grinding sound, revealing a dark circular entrance descending deep into the earth. "All right," Arin said with a grin, his voice echoing slightly in the opening. "Let's see what you've been hiding." He flicked on his headlamp, its beam cutting into the oppressive darkness. A long spiral staircase, carved from the same volcanic rock, led him deep underground. The air grew cooler, filled with the scent of damp earth and something else. Something electric. After what felt like an eternity, the staircase opened into a breathtaking cavern. The entire space was filled with a soft, ethereal glow emanating from massive blue crystals embedded in the walls. They pulsed gently, in a slow, steady rhythm, like 1,000 beating hearts. The walls themselves were covered in hieroglyphs, unlike any he'd ever seen. They weren't Egyptian, not Mayan, not anything from the known world. As Arin brushed away centuries of accumulated dirt from a panel of symbols, they flared to life, glowing with the same blue light as the crystals. The light shot from one symbol to the next, creating a luminous path that led deeper into the cavern. "Whoever built this," Arin whispered to himself, his voice filled with awe, knew something incredible. He followed the illuminated trail, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The path led him to the entrance of an enormous circular chamber. He stepped inside. At the far end, 3 massive stone faces, shaped like the moai above ground, stood in a solemn row. As Arin cautiously approached the center of the room, a deep, rumbling voice filled the air, shaking the very stones he stood on. Only one voice carries truth. Then the statues began to speak. Each one recited a riddle, their voices overlapping, creating a confusing, powerful chorus. But their words were slightly different. Arin knew instinctively that this was a trial. Choosing the wrong voice, the wrong answer, would surely bring the entire chamber crashing down around him. He closed his eyes, ignoring the confusing words, and focused on the vibrations in the floor. He listened not with his ears, but with his whole body. The first voice sent a harsh, jarring tremor through the rock. The second was flat, dead. But when the third statue spoke, the vibration was different. It was a smooth, resonant hum, and as it spoke, the blue crystals lining the cavern walls glowed noticeably brighter, pulsing in time with its voice. That was it. Truth resonated with the energy of this place. Confident, Arin took a step toward the third statue. As he did, the ground beneath its base split open with a low groan, revealing a new path leading into the darkness beyond. The next chamber was different. Several smaller moai, about twice his height, stood in a circle. They were inert, silent. But as Arin stepped into the center, their stone eyes suddenly lit up with a brilliant, menacing red glow. "Uh-oh," Arin muttered, taking a half-step back. And then they moved. Stone grated against stone as the statues began to shift and slide across the floor. But they weren't attacking him directly. Instead, they were forming shifting barriers, a living, moving maze. Sections of the floor slid away to reveal pits, while stone arms rotated out from the walls, forcing him to duck and weave. Arin realized it was a race, a test of agility and intellect. He had to get through. He sprinted, leaping over sliding floor panels and ducking beneath the heavy, rotating arms. As he dodged one of the moving guardians, he noticed a faint beam of blue light shining from the ceiling onto a specific point on the far wall. It was almost completely hidden. He needed to redirect it. Thinking fast, he pulled a reflective shard of blue crystal he'd picked up from the floor of the previous cavern. Timing his move perfectly, he held it up, catching the beam and angling it towards an unmarked sensor hidden in the wall. The moment the light hit its mark, the chamber fell silent. The guardians froze instantly in their positions. Then, in a gesture that stunned him, they all tilted their heavy stone heads forward, as if in a bow. You were protecting something, Arin realized aloud. Not just hiding it. Beyond the now still guardians lay the final chamber, and the sight that greeted him made him forget to breathe. It was a vast, dome-shaped space. In the center, a colossal, perfectly formed crystal monolith hovered silently above a pool of shimmering, otherworldly water. It rotated slowly, and within its flawless depths danced reflections, not of the cavern, but of ancient lands, long-gone oceans, and unfamiliar star constellations. This was the heart of the island, the source of the whispers. Arin stepped closer, drawn by an invisible force. The monolith responded to his presence, emitting a deep, humming tone that resonated in his very bones. As he watched, mesmerized, it began projecting images into the air above the pool. He saw early island navigators, their canoes guided by the stars, sailing across a world with different coastlines. He saw visions of ancient, forgotten civilizations, sharing knowledge, building incredible structures in perfect alignment across the globe. He saw a lost global network of stone monuments, from this place to Stonehenge to the pyramids, all connected, communicating through subtle energy fields. Arin gasped, the truth hitting him with the force of a physical blow. The moai. They weren't just statues. They were receivers. Antennas. This monolith wasn't just a crystal. It was a memory archive, a library recording Earth's true forgotten history. The monolith glowed brighter, and with a soft chime, a small crystal fragment broke away from its main body. It floated gently through the air toward Arin. Hesitantly, he reached out and touched it. The moment his fingers made contact, it pulsed with a warm, comforting light. It was a gift, a key, a single precious piece of the world's lost story. Suddenly, the cavern began to rumble violently. The monolith started sinking back into the shimmering pool, its projections fading. The water churned, and cracks appeared in the cavern walls. Great, of course, Arin sighed, clutching the crystal fragment tightly in his hand before turning and running back the way he came. The entire complex was collapsing. The guardian maze was already shifting behind him, its path closing. The grand staircase shook, and dust and rock rained down from the ceiling. He sprinted up the final steps, his lungs burning, and leaped out of the entrance just as the heavy stone disc slid shut with a deafening, final thud. And then silence. Absolute silence returned to the surface. Only the gentle wind blew between the moai, as if nothing had ever happened. Arin stood alone, catching his breath, staring at the impassive stone faces. For a fleeting moment, he could almost feel them watching him, a sense of ancient approval washing over him. He opened his hand. The blue shard was still there, glowing softly in the afternoon sun. Another piece of the puzzle. he whispered to the wind. And another adventure calling. With a confident smile, Arin Cade turned and walked toward the horizon, ready for whatever journey came next. Thanks for watching the adventures of Arin Cade. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss his next discovery. See you on the next adventure.